Hi, I'm Flyn. I'm the author of Islands of Abandonment, Life in the Post-Human Landscape. I'm going to read you a little section from my chapter about Swona, which is an abandoned island in the Pentland Firth, just south of Orkney. The sun sets and rises, chasing shadows across the floor, across the table, across the wall. Rain lashes the windows to one side, salt spray the other. Days pass, weeks pass, months, years. Outside, torrents rush past the rocky shore. The lighthouse to the south and the beacon to the north pulse out automated advertisements to their presence. Constellations whirl overhead. The moon waxes, wanes, waxes, wanes, waxes. The cattle live, give birth, and die. Inside Rose Cottage, dust settles unseen. At first it forms a thin veneer, but then a thicker, felt-like scrim pulled up and over everything. It forms over tea towels hung to dry over a stove long ago gone out. It settles on the coal in the scuttle and the kitchen table sitting ready for a meal with a jar of marmalade, tinned milk powder and a box of biscuits at its centre. It settles on the papers, stacked in piles on the sideboard, and on the sewing machine packed neatly in its box, on the ham radio by the window, and the stopped clock on the mantelpiece, reading 10 minutes past 3. Later, as the damp sets in, the air grows thick with decay. Tins pox and swell in the cupboard where they were stockpiled. Glassware takes on an opacity, that hazy, milky quality of age. And the mirror a patina of grey-green that creeps in from the edges, clouding the reflection. Salt in the shaker solidifies into a single, moulded block. Upstairs the beds are still made, ready to be slept in, the sheets pulled up neatly and tucked in tight. Just over a decade after the Rosie's departure, the photographer John S. Findlay came to document the island. I noticed that the sense of human presence was still so strong as to prompt him to knock upon every door before he entered. The feeling that the owner was only in the next room or shortly to return and catch him was intense. At that time, the house still resided in a realm of mere absence, as if someone had slipped out for a walk, although a few artifacts suggested the start of the transmutation of this absence into something altogether more profound. By the time I enter the house, more than 3 decades later, the metamorphosis has advanced. Now it has clearly been abandoned for some time. There are still traces of how things were left, the white clean tablecloth left in place, though its laminae are separating, its skirts shredding onto the floor, the soft furnishings rotting away to bare wooden frames, paperwork stacked but soaked and softening to a pulp. But the next phase, ruination, is now surely close at hand. A newspaper rests on the table, wet and flimsy and folded in half. Its uppermost pages are too perished to be readable, but when I tentatively lift its corner with one finger, I find the cover hiding inside a press and journal bearing news of a change in government. Ted Heath out, Harold Wilson in. I carry in my phone a photo of this room taken by Findlay in 1985, and I bring it up now to chart the advance of its decay. What strikes me instead are the other ways in which the scene has changed. Items are missing. That stopped clock, for one thing, with an art print popped up in its place. The doors to the cabinet have been flung open, the paperwork rifled through and stuffed back. A kettle, aged, rusted, has appeared on the stovetop. Though many years have passed, the suggestion of unseen presences moving in the space between the photo and the scene before me is uncanny. A tide of mud has swept in under the door and across the floor. It has settled in a layer of around an inch in depth, soft and wet still, perhaps from the storm that's just passed over, one I had to wait out in a tent on South Ronaldsay for 2 days, canvas flapping through the night, the whole setup threatening to take off. In the mud, a broom lies half submerged and dropping its bristles, and next to that, a set of footprints, which are not mine. These too catch me unawares. I feel a sudden chill. I freeze where I stand and peer through a loose lattice of floorboards into the bedroom above, then down again to the footprints. It's not clear how long they've been here. It's sheltered inside the cottage with the door tied shut. They could have been here for years, like footprints on the moon, although they look fresh. I speak out loud without meaning to. Hello? No answer. The house presses in silently against me.